Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Gaurang Dhawanlal and with me is R.S. Raghu with the evening news. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says Indian language journalism plays a key role in Indian tradition, culture, freedom struggle and development journey. Inaugurates 50th anniversary celebrations of Agradoot newspaper group in Assam through video conferencing. Akhil Bharatiya Shiksha Samagam to be inaugurated in Varanasi tomorrow by Prime Minister. Rajya Sabha MP from Jharkhand and Union Minister for Minority Affairs Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi resigns from Union Cabinet. Government reduces gap between second and precautionary dose of COVID-19 vaccination to 6 months for all adults. Civil Aviation Ministry releases second provisional list of 23 beneficiaries under the Production-Linked Incentive Scheme for drone and drone components. Coal production increases by 32.57% in June this year. Shiv Sena nominates Mr. Rajan Vichare as Chief Whip in place of Mrs. Bhavana Gowli ahead of presidential polls. In Women's Hockey World Cup, India to take on New Zealand in their final pool match tomorrow. And in Wimbledon tennis, Sania Mirza with a Croatian partner, Mate Pavic, to play mixed doubles semi-final in a short while. And in cricket, Selection Committee announces team for 3-match ODI series against West Indies. Shikhar Dhawan to lead the Indian squad against the West Indies. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the Golden Jubilee celebrations of the Agradoot group of newspapers today via video conferencing. Addressing the gathering, the Prime Minister congratulated the strong voice of the Northeast in the Assamese language, Dainik Agradoot, for the occasion and complimented them for keeping the values of unity and harmony alive through the medium of journalism. The Prime Minister empathized that for the past few days, Assam is also facing great challenges and difficulties in the form of floods.
बीते कुछ दिनों से असम बाढ़ के रूप में बड़ी चुनौती और कठिनाइयों का सामना भी कर रहा है। असम के अनेक जिलों में सामान्य जीवन बहुत अधिक प्रभावित हुआ है। हेमंता जी और उनकी पूरी टीम राहत और बचाव के लिए दिन रात मेहनत कर रही है। मैं आज असम के लोगों को, अग्रदूत के पाठकों को ये भरोसा दिलाता हूं कि केंद्र और राज्य सरकार मिलकर उनकी मुश्किलें कम करने में जुटी हुई है।
The Prime Minister underlined the sterling contribution of Indian language journalism to Indian tradition, culture, the freedom struggle and the development journey. Journalism started 150 years ago in the Assamese language and kept on getting stronger with time. The Prime Minister said, when there is dialogue, there is a solution. It is through dialogue that possibilities expand. Therefore, along with the flow of knowledge in Indian democracy, information is also flowing continuously.
भारत के समाज में डेमोक्रेसी इसलिए निहित है क्योंकि इसमें विमर्श से, विचार से हर मतभेद को दूर करने का रास्ता है। जब संवाद होता है तब समाधान निकलता है। संवाद से ही संभावनाओं का विस्तार होता है। इसलिए भारतीय लोकतंत्र में ज्ञान के प्रवाह के साथ ही सूचना का प्रवाह भी अविरल बहा और निरंतर बह रहा है। अग्रदूत भी इसी परंपरा को आगे बढ़ाने का एक महत्वपूर्ण माध्यम रहा है।
The Prime Minister said, no Indian should be deprived of the best information, and that's why we encourage studies in Indian languages in the National Policy on Education. The Prime Minister added, to provide the world's best content in Indian languages, we are working on the National Language Translation Mission.
कोई भी भारतीय बेस्ट इंफॉर्मेशन, बेस्ट नॉलेज, बेस्ट स्किल और बेस्ट अपॉर्चुनिटी से सिर्फ भाषा के कारण वंचित न रहे, ये हमारा प्रयास है। इसलिए हमने राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति में भारतीय भाषाओं में पढ़ाई को प्रोत्साहन दिया। मातृभाषा में पढ़ाई करने वाले छात्र कल चाहे जिस प्रोफेशन में जाएं, उन्हें अपने क्षेत्र की जरूरतों और अपने लोगों की आकांक्षाओं की समझ रहेगी। इसके साथ ही अब हमारा प्रयास है कि भारतीय भाषाओं में दुनिया का बेहतरीन कंटेंट उपलब्ध हो। इसके लिए नेशनल लैंग्वेज ट्रांसलेशन मिशन पर हम काम कर रहे हैं।
Mr. Modi said the effort is that the Internet, which is a huge storehouse of knowledge and information, can be used by every Indian in his own language. He also talked of the Bhashani platform, a unified language interface launched recently. Underlining the biodiversity and cultural richness of Assam and the Northeast, the Prime Minister said Assam has a rich legacy of music and that needs to reach the world at large. He said efforts of the last 8 years with regard to physical and digital connectivity of the region will be hugely beneficial for tribal traditions, tourism and the culture of Assam. Assam Chief Minister Dr. Himanta Biswa Sarma, who is the chief patron of Agradut's Golden Jubilee Celebration Committee, was also present on the occasion. The Prime Minister will inaugurate the Akhil Bharatiya Shiksha Samagam at Varanasi tomorrow. The Samagam is being organized by the Education Ministry in association with the University Grants Commission and Banaras Hindu University. Talking to AIR News, educationist Dr. Santkumar Chaudhary said the three-day event will bring together over 300 vice-chancellors and directors from public and private universities, educationists and policymakers.
That Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi will be inaugurating Akhil Bharatiya Shiksha Samagam, I think in Varanasi, which has been organized in the joint effort with University Service Commission and Banaras Hindu Vishwavidyalaya, in which more than 300 Honorable Vice Chancellor, Honorable Directors of different institutions from public and private universities, educationists, policymakers will be participating. This deliberation for 3 days will be very useful to implement National Education Policy 2020. I think this is very useful and this will help a lot to understand what is the benefit after implementation of the National Education Policy 2020.
Uttar Pradesh Governor Anandiben Patel, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath and Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan will also attend the event. The summit will provide a platform for leading Indian higher educational institutions to discuss, deliberate and share insights on strategies, success stories and best practices in implementing the National Education Policy 2020. The key highlight of the meet will be the adoption of the Varanasi Declaration on Higher Education. It will showcase India's extended vision and a renewed commitment to help achieve the goals of the higher education system.
Rajya Sabha Member of Parliament from Jharkhand and Union Minister for Minority Affairs Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi today resigned from the Union Cabinet. Mr. Naqvi's term as Rajya Sabha MP is set to end tomorrow. He was elected from Jharkhand in the year 2016. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has congratulated V. Vijayendra Prasad Garu, Virendra Hegde, Ilayaraja and P.T. Usha for being nominated to the Rajya Sabha. COVID precautionary dose to the eligible beneficiaries will now be administered after completion of 6 months from the date of administration of second dose. National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization (NTAGI) has recommended to revise the duration from existing 9 months to 6 months. Health and Family Welfare Ministry Secretary Rajesh Bhushan has written a letter to all states and UTs in this regard. The Health Ministry said corresponding changes have been made in the CoWIN system to facilitate the new dispensation. It asked the states and the UTs to extend the benefit of precaution dose to all the beneficiaries, including people aged above 18 years, healthcare and frontline workers during Har Ghar Dastak 2.0 campaign.
The Civil Aviation Ministry has released the second provisional list of 23 beneficiaries under the Production-Linked Incentive PLI scheme for drone and drone components. These include 12 drone manufacturers and 11 drone component manufacturers. The PLI scheme for drones and drone components was notified in September last year. The Coal Ministry has said that the country's coal production has increased by 32.57% to over 67 million tons in June this year as compared to June last year. The ministry highlighted that at the same time, the coal dispatch also increased by nearly 21% to over 75 million tons. It said out of the top 37 coal mines, as many as 22 mines produced more than 100%, and production of another 9 mines stood between 80 to 100%.
Ahead of the presidential polls, Shiv Sena has replaced its chief whip in the Lok Sabha. In a letter written to Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, Shiv Sena's Rajya Sabha MP Sanjay Raut has said that the party has nominated Mr. Rajan Vichare as the chief whip in place of Mrs. Bhavna Gavli with immediate effect. This comes a day after Shiv Sena MP Rahul Shewale urged Party President Uddhav Thackeray to support NDA's candidate Draupadi Murmu for the presidential post. Relations between Shiv Sena and the NDA led by the BJP have soured in the past 3 years after a disagreement over government formation in Maharashtra. The fissures have aggravated over the last 2 weeks, during which the Uddhav Thackeray-led MVA government was toppled after a rebellion by 40 Shiv Sena MLAs. Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs Arjun Ram Meghwal today chaired a meeting of secretaries and senior officers of various ministries and departments to assess the preparedness of legislative and other items of government business for the ensuing monsoon session 2022 of Parliament. This year's monsoon session will provide 18 sittings spread over a period of 26 days. During the meeting, senior officers from various ministries and departments gave their inputs on the business being proposed by their administrative ministry. As a preparatory work for this meeting, officers of Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs held a meeting last Monday with officers of Legislative Department to review the legislative and other items proposed by various ministries and departments. You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says Indian language journalism plays a key role in Indian tradition, culture, freedom struggle and development journey. Inaugurates 50th anniversary celebrations of Agradut newspaper group in Assam through video conferencing. Akhil Bharatiya Shiksha Samagam to be inaugurated in Varanasi tomorrow by Prime Minister. Rajya Sabha MP from Jharkhand and Union Minister for Minority Affairs Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi resigns from Union Cabinet. Government reduces gap between second and precautionary dose of COVID-19 vaccination to 6 months for all adults. Civil Aviation Ministry releases second provisional list of 23 beneficiaries under the Production-Linked Incentive Scheme for drone and drone components. Coal production increases by 32.57% in June this year. Shiv Sena nominates Mr. Rajan Vichare as Chief Whip in place of Mrs. Bhavna Gavli ahead of presidential polls. In Women's Hockey World Cup, India to take on New Zealand in their final pool match tomorrow. And in Wimbledon tennis, Sania Mirza with her Croatian partner Mate Pavic to play mixed doubles semi-final in a short while. And in cricket, selection committee announces team for 3-match ODI series against West Indies. Shikhar Dhawan to lead the Indian squad against the West Indies. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का सुलभ और सस्ता माध्यम है आकाशवाणी।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न केंद्रों से कीजिए अपने उत्पादों और सेवाओं का प्रचार विज्ञापनों के माध्यम से।
लोकल और राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर कीजिए अपने बिजनेस का विस्तार, क्योंकि आकाशवाणी में विज्ञापन बुकिंग हुई बहुत ही आसान।
अब घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे आप कर सकते हैं विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
डायल कीजिए 870-001-4242।
नंबर एक बार फिर नोट करें, 870-001-4242।
कॉम्पिटिशन्स की अगर आप कर रहे हैं तैयारी, तो आपके लिए ऑल इंडिया रेडियो लाया है कार्यक्रम अभ्यास। एक ऐसा कार्यक्रम जिसमें आप पूछते हैं सवाल 9289094044 पर, या फिर ईमेल करते हैं abhyas.airnews@gmail.com पर, जिसके जवाब एक्सपर्ट देंगे शनिवार रात 9:30 बजे। इस बार का विषय है ज्योग्राफी यानी कि भूगोल, और प्रश्न भेजने की अंतिम तारीख है 6 जुलाई। आपके सवालों का हम कर रहे इंतजार। आपका अभ्यास हमारा प्रयास।
Welcome back to the evening news. The nation is remembering Dr. Shamma Prasad Mukherjee on his 121st birth anniversary today. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, BJP President J.P. Nadda, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, along with several leaders, have paid tribute to the Jan Sangh founder. In a tweet, Vice President Naidu said Dr. Mukherjee was an eminent statesman, visionary thinker, renowned educationist, and a passionate nationalist. The Prime Minister shared a video on his Twitter handle saying Dr. Mukherjee is widely respected for his contribution to India's development, particularly in sectors such as commerce and industry.
1947 से 1950 तक डॉक्टर श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी भारत के पहले उद्योग मंत्री रहे। 1948 में आई स्वतंत्र भारत की पहली औद्योगिक नीति उनके आइडियाज और विजन की छाप लेकर के आई। डॉक्टर मुखर्जी का भारत के रक्षा उत्पादन के स्वदेशीकरण पर भी विशेष जोर था। आइए हम हमेशा डॉक्टर श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी के एकता के संदेश को याद रखें, सद्भाव और भाईचारे की भावना के साथ भारत की प्रगति के लिए जी जान से जुटे रहें।
BJP President J.P. Nadda also paid tribute to Dr. Shamma Prasad Mukherjee on his birth anniversary. He said Dr. Mukherjee was a renowned educationist and thinker.
उन्होंने उद्योग की नीति रखी और साथ ही साथ उन्होंने खादी ग्रामोद्योग की भी स्थापना की। एक महान विचारक, एक महान शिक्षाविद ने बहुत कम समय में ही जो औद्योगिक नीति थी उसके माध्यम से भारत को मजबूती प्रदान करने का प्रयास किया।
The Environment, Forest and Climate Change Ministry will organize Hariyali Mahotsav on the 8th of this month in New Delhi as a part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Plantation drives are being organized with the active participation of 75 Nagar vans, 75 police stations and 75 schools in Delhi and NCR and 75 degraded plantation sites in different states as a part of this Mahotsav. Hariyali Mahotsav is being organized to create awareness about the importance of trees for sustainable development.
And now let us listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव।
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. All India Radio News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
6th of July 1837 is the birth anniversary of R.G. Bhandarkar, who was one of India's pioneer social reformers and first Orientologists. He reconstructed the political history of the Satvahans of the Deccan and the history of Vaishnavism and other sects. As a great social reformer, through his researches, he castigated the evils of the caste system and child marriage.
Bhandarkar became a member of the Paramhans Sabha in 1853, where he was inspired by the lectures of Keshub Chandra Sen. In the year 1866, in a public meeting, he took a public pledge to eradicate the social evils of child marriage, the caste system, and to promote the education of women and widow remarriage.
Thus, to attain the objectives, R.G. Bhandarkar, along with M.G. Ranade, helped found the Prarthana Samaj in 1867. As an educationist, he was elected to the Imperial Legislative Council in 1903 as a non-official member. Gopal Krishna Gokhale was another member of the council.
R.G. Bhandarkar was also the first Indian Vice-Chancellor of Bombay University and the first Indian to be awarded an LLD degree by the university in 1904. Justice Ranade had a great respect for Dr. Bhandarkar. Ranade said,
Dr. Bhandarkar's stature is no less than the great leaders of Brahmo Samaj. He's not just an eminent scholar, he's greater than that. He's a guide. He has been an example by himself and a teacher from whom we receive the best instructions in our life.
Dr. Bhandarkar left this world on the 24th of August 1925. We salute the great nationalist.
We also remember freedom fighter and crusader of social justice Babu Jagjeevan Ram on his death anniversary. Born in Bhojpur, Bihar, Jagjeevan Ram played a very active role in the freedom struggle. He became a legislator at the young age of 28 in the year 1936 as a nominated member of the Bihar Legislative Council. When the Congress government was formed in 1937, Jagjeevan Ram was appointed as the parliamentary secretary. However, in 1938, he resigned along with the entire cabinet.
Inspired by Gandhiji, Jagjeevan Ram courted arrest on the 10th of December 1940. He was again arrested on the 19th of August 1942 for his active participation in the Quit India movement. After his release, he became the youngest minister in the interim government in 1946. He also served as a member of the Constituent Assembly of India.
Post-independence, Babu Jagjeevan Ram went on to serve as a minister with various portfolios for the next 30 years. His contribution to the Green Revolution in India is still remembered. The great nationalist leader left for his heavenly abode on the 6th of July 1986. AIR News salutes the great son of the soil, Babu Jagjeevan Ram.
We also remember martyr Sadhu Singh, who was born on the 6th of July 1921 in Kapurthala, Punjab. Sadhu Singh was a sepoy in the Bahawalpur infantry of the British Indian Army. Following his capture by the Japanese forces in Singapore in 1942, he volunteered to join the Indian National Army there. He confronted the British forces in the battlefields of Ipoh, Pegu and Rangoon. Sadhu Singh lost his life while fighting on the Burmese front in 1944. We salute this brave martyr.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has crossed 198 crore 31 lakh mark. More than 10 lakh vaccine doses were administered today. Union Health Ministry said that more than 6 crore 16 lakh vaccine doses have been administered to the children in the age group of 12 to 14 years so far. Over 4 crore 79 lakh precaution doses have been administered to the identified categories of beneficiaries, including healthcare workers, frontline workers and people above 18 years of age. In the FIH Women's Hockey World Cup, India will take on New Zealand tomorrow in their final pool match. The match will be played in Amstelveen at 11 p.m.
In Wimbledon tennis, Sania Mirza and a Croatian partner, Mate Pavic, will play the mixed doubles semi-final in a short while. The duo will play against British-US Neil Skupski and Desiree Krostek. The other mixed doubles semi-finals between Australian pair Matthew Ebden, Samantha Stossur and Jack Sock and Coco Gauff of the US is underway. The men's singles quarterfinals between Spanish Rafael Nadal and Taylor Fritz of the USA and between Chilean Christian Garin and Nick Kyrgios of Australia are underway. The selection committee has selected the team for the 3-match ODI series against the West Indies. Shikhar Dhawan to lead the Indian squad against the West Indies. Regular skipper Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Jasprit Bumrah, Hardik Pandya and Rishabh Pant have been rested for the series. The senior selection committee of the BCCI named a 16-member Indian team for the ODIs. India's squad for 3 ODIs, Shikhar Dhawan, captain, Ruturaj Gaikwad, Shubham Gill, Deepak Hooda, Suryakumar Yadav, Shreyas Iyer, Ishan Kishan, Sanju Samson, Ravindra Jadeja, Vice-Captain, Shardul Thakur, Yujvendra Chahal, Aksar Patel, Avesh Khan, Prasidh Krishna, Mohammad Siraj and Arshdeep Singh.
The News Services Division of All India Radio will bring an exclusive interview today with the High Commissioner of the United Republic of Tanzania to India, Anisa Kapufi Mbega, in the program Spotlight Tonight. Talking to AIR News, the High Commissioner said Tanzania is a key strategic partner of India and both the nations share close cultural and trade relations.
Tanzanian people love Indian music a lot. We love the Indian dance and movies. So through this, people get to interact and formidable cooperation. Exchange programs through different channels, such as training, is a catalyst for continuation of the bond between our people of Tanzania and India. Trading and investments as well is also another avenue for maintaining such kind of a bond, just to mention few.
The full interview can be heard on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies from 9:15 p.m. onwards. This program will also be available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. The Sensex and the Nifty today logged gains of more than 1%. Both stock indices climbed amid mixed global cues. A report from the business desk.
The Sensex gained 617 points or 1.16% to finish at 53,751. The Nifty also rose 179 points or 1.13% to settle at 15,990. In the forex market, the rupee appreciated 7 paise against the US dollar. The domestic currency closed at 79 rupees and 30 paise against the American unit. Gold prices fell 155 rupees at the multi-commodity exchange for August contracts. Silver prices rose 50 rupees to 56,950 rupees per kilogram for July contracts. In intraday trade, Brent crude was trading at $104.15 per barrel. V. Ravi Kumar for AIR News.
The India Met Department has said active monsoon conditions will continue for another 5 to 7 days in several parts of the country. Talking to AIR News, senior scientist in the IMD, R.K. Janamani, said under its impact a very heavy rainfall will occur in several states including Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka and Gujarat.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. The national capital Delhi is expected to have a generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. The minimum temperature will be around 29 degrees Celsius while the maximum will be 37 degrees. Mumbai will have a generally cloudy sky with heavy rain. The minimum temperature will be 25 degrees Celsius and the maximum will be 27 degrees. Kolkata will have a partly cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. The minimum temperature will be around 27 degrees Celsius and the maximum will be 34 degrees. Chennai will have thunderstorm with rain. The minimum temperature will be 25 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 33 degrees. Srinagar and Jammu will have thunderstorms with rain. The minimum temperature in Srinagar will be around 19 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 28 degrees. In Jammu, the minimum temperature will be around 24 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 31 degrees. Muzaffarabad is also expected to have thunderstorm with rain. Leh and Gilgit will have a generally cloudy sky with the possibility of rain or thunderstorm or a dust storm. In the south, Hyderabad, Bengaluru and Tiruvananthapuram will have a generally cloudy sky with light rain. In the northeast, Guwahati, Imphal, Aizawl, Shillong, Itanagar, Kohima, Gangtok and Agartala will have a partly cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. And now, before we close, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says Indian language journalism plays a key role in Indian tradition, culture, freedom struggle and development journey. Inaugurates 50th anniversary celebrations of Agradut newspaper group in Assam through video conferencing. Akhil Bharatiya Shiksha Samagam to be inaugurated in Varanasi tomorrow by Prime Minister. Rajya Sabha MP from Jharkhand and Union Minister for Minority Affairs Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi resigns from the Union Cabinet. Government reduces gap between second and precautionary dose of COVID-19 vaccination to 6 months for all adults. Civil Aviation Ministry releases second provisional list of 23 beneficiaries under the Production-Linked Incentive Scheme for drone and drone components. Coal production increases by 32.57% in June this year. Shiv Sena nominates Mr. Rajan Vichare as Chief Whip in place of Mrs. Bhavana Gowli ahead of presidential polls. In Women's Hockey World Cup, India to take on New Zealand in their final pool match tomorrow. And in Wimbledon tennis, Sania Mirza with a Croatian partner Mate Pavic to play mixed doubles semi-final in a short while. And in cricket, Selection Committee announces team for 3-match ODI series against West Indies. Shikhar Dhawan to lead the Indian squad against the West Indies. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.